So I thought that we would begin with an interesting article that I found, which is about how a mother saved her daughter from transitioning. Because this kind of plays into a general theme that I've had for quite a while now, which is children shouldn't have mobile phones.
Yes, a remarkable woman. And I must say
Incredible.
that I have changed my views a bit on technology, parents and children. I think that it's good if parents understand their limits and they act accordingly. And they try to keep some TikTok and things like that out of their children.
One thing that I've noticed is that you can see the change in the personality of the child through the use of the technology. And this is one of the things that this mother talks about. And it's that you should be most sensitive to. When the child's attitude towards you and towards themselves and towards the world around them starts becoming very different to what it was, then the technology is the problem at that point. You should just take it away.
It is. And young people are trying to find their identity. And this is a very sensitive age.
Yes, very. But before we begin, if you want to support us, go and check out our book club that we did on Abigail Shrier's Irreversible Damage, which Harry read and was very impressed with and did a very good analysis of. And the reason I bring this up is because it's very pertinent to what we're going to be talking about and is in fact brought up in this article. So this, like I said, this is an old article because we couldn't do any current events, by a lady who calls herself Charlie Jacobs, which is the pen name of a wife and mother from California who has 2 teenagers. And she wants to now educate parents, about how gender ideology can overtake their child. And so she begins, it's quite long, but honestly, I really think this is worth going through because this is like a great case study of all of the examples of like the snippets that we find together, right? So before, her daughter was just a totally normal girl, right? She says, "My daughter was an ultra-feminine girl since birth. She insisted that her room be painted pink. She refused to wear anything but dresses until 3rd grade. She avoided her older brother's toys and sports, choosing tea sets and Shopkins, a series of tiny collectible toys, apparently. Her favourite activity was to slip into my closet and don a few of my sparkly clothes and the shiniest of heels. She rejected sports in favour of art and sewing. All that abruptly changed when she turned 12. As her body matured into young womanhood, she stopped begging for a bikini and avoided any clothing that accentuated her figure. She hid her breasts under men's extra-large sweatshirts. I remember doing similar things as my body changed, so I didn't worry at first. All totally normal. Totally normal. Because obviously a young girl is becoming a young woman, doesn't understand the changes in her body that are taking effect and the sort of new role that nature is imposing upon her and how people react differently to her at school. Boys change their opinion on her and stuff like this. Totally normal, right? And so the mother's like, right. And then she started changing because of access to the internet, because she starts getting into anime. What's your opinion on anime?
I'm not decided yet.
That's very diplomatic.
I have to be because my brothers love anime. They're normal.
Oh, for now.
Yeah. No. They'll remain normal.
So she gets into anime. She says, "Then my daughter immersed herself into anime art and cosplaying, the hobby of dressing like fantastical characters. And the mother supported this because, of course, this is a creative endeavor. So it seemed fine. And it's very feminine. I am judging you. I didn't know that." Honestly. "I didn't know that anime and cosplaying can overwhelm a young mind. I didn't know that anime and cosplaying involved gender-bending themes and the community crosses into pedophilic and sexual themes." Well, I didn't bloody know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
And
I don't watch or follow any kind of anime.
No. I mean, it's a wide genre to be fair.
Yeah. But I suppose like the particular community that her daughter found herself in has these themes. And she says, "I also didn't know about the older cosplay community that groomed the younger cohorts." Like I said, I don't know anything about this, so I'll just take her word for it, right? But it's in this period of time that she begins to get brainwashed. And it's not actually because of the internet directly. It begins when she says, "During that time period, my daughter went through something called Teen Talk, which is a Manitoba, Canada-based program that provides, quote, youth with accurate, non-judgmental information on sexuality, reproductive health, body image, substance use awareness, mental health, issues of diversity, and anti-violence issues at her public school." Right.
So it is something like a woke summer camp.
It's woke brainwashing camp, yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Well, you can definitely bet that something is going to go bad.
Which it does, actually. That's precisely what happens. "She came home with a whole new language. Her and her girlfriends discussed their labels. Polyamorous, lesbian, pansexuals. None of the 5 girls chose basic, their term for a straight girl. Now I was worried.
I mean, they use these sexual terms, and okay, they are relatively young, but okay, you know, women start engaging in their sexual lives at whatever age during their teenage years. But talking about polyamory at that age,
Bit weird, isn't
that
it?
seems
Yeah.
even more excessive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's appropriate.
No, but
Pansexuality, I mean...
it sounds like something that happens, that is talked about in the camps like that.
Well, clearly, which is how she came to learn about it. But the point is, note as well the negative connotation, right? So you're just basic, are you? Basic. Basic
Yes.
is always the lowest, least important grade.
Yes, there's this idea that very many teenagers have that, you know, the world cannot understand me and I'm so unique.
Yeah.
And this is precisely
Yeah.
what parents should counter against.
And this is precisely what this language is designed to try and foster as well.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so unique. In fact, I can label in which ways I am so special and unique.
Yes, and it's an issue of self-identification, not an issue of biology, which means that I can safely disregard any person who thinks otherwise.
Exactly. Then things get worse. She distanced herself from her old friends and spent more time online. Not wise. I checked her phone, but was not astute enough to know that she had set up appropriate fake social media accounts for my viewing. So the daughter begins deceiving her mother.
And this seems as if it was she was told to do so,
Quite
because
possibly.
it's very complex thinking for someone who is unaware of these platforms.
And who's only like 12 or 13 as well.
Yeah, so I'm willing to bet that someone told her to do this,
I agree.
and she heard it.
I would not be surprised. And it doesn't have to have been the camp she went to either. It could have been something online that she found.
Yeah.
You know, someone, video or whatever. An older girl showed romantic interest in her. I barred that girl from our home. I learned later that she had molested my daughter. Doesn't give us any more information, which is probably for the best, but not good. Then the daughter gets infatuated with an older girl who's cool, you see, because they often think that, and comes out as trans. When my daughter was in the 8th grade, so I believe that's about 13 or 14 years old, I took her to SAC Anime, which is an anime convention in Sacramento, California. There she met a girl 3 years her senior, but light years more mature. That girl mesmerized my daughter with her edginess or magnanimous personality. The older girl went by they as her pronoun.
She doesn't seem necessarily more mature.
No, but
Yeah.
there probably is an added aspect of maturity because this older girl, being 17 perhaps, has probably spent a lot of time on the internet.
Yeah.
So has been exposed to much more sordid content than the 13-year-old.
Yes.
And so while we at our age might have thought, well, 17 isn't mature, 17 now might have experienced too much of the world.
Yes, I think so, yeah.
So anyway, she says, the older girl went by they. After their meeting, my daughter got a boy's haircut, stopped shaving, and asked for boys' underwear. My daughter parroted everything about the older teen. Now, a younger child being infatuated with an older child that they look up to and admire is not in any way new or surprising. The problem is in the way that the older child is presenting themselves for the younger child to admire.
And with the new dimension that this sort of approach takes, this is a way that kids approach other kids, and there is a whole narrative that supports them. And it's we are the cool people, others don't get you, we are,
No, that's exactly right. And
we are cutting edge, whatever that may mean.
Yeah. So the daughter started making gross TikTok videos. Her language became vulgar, and she redecorated her room to look like a cave. She self-pierced her nose with one of those bull rings. She broke every family rule. She was morphing into an emo goth vampire-like creature. She was unrecognizable. Her personality descended into anger and rudeness. The summer before 9th grade, she announced that she was transgender. Post-announcement, she began to threaten suicide. She had sunk into a deep depression.
Yes, I mean, it's sad to see how this transitions, how this plays out.
Yeah.
And it seems like this kid was radicalized.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is the exact radicalization that, for some reason, woke ideologues do not see.
Yeah, it's like you can see the exact procession of it as well. She is indoctrinated into like the basics, initiated into this cult or via the thing at the school, but then given free access to the internet, well, she goes and finds more of it and watches YouTube videos and TikTok and all this, and starts descending to the spiral of, oh, I'm an oppressed person who lives in an evil world, and I'm not actually a girl or a woman. I'm actually transgender, and now I'm going to kill myself because all sense and order has been destroyed in her life.
Do you think it is an issue of sense and order, or is it the fact that many teenagers think that the attempt to put order in their lives is an act of oppression, and they have found another way right now?
Yeah, that's a good question.
To phrase what it is that how it is that they experience their predicament. And it's material that is very easily accessible.
And also, it's a way of approaching boundaries that's very different to traditionally how boundaries were enforced, right?
Yes.
Because, I mean, when I was young, this didn't exist, thank God. Because, like all teenagers, I probably would have been, interested in it in some way. And so this was just not one of those boundaries that you ever thought about because you didn't really feel it or see it, right?
Yes.
But when it's put into your mind and you're encouraged to try and transgress against it, it's something your parents are unprepared to deal with.
Yes, and this is where the government that goes woke doesn't seem to help parents.
No.
Because the whole idea is let us try to put some order in the lives of ourselves and our children and our families.
That would be good.
Teenagers feel that this act of trying to put order in their lives is an act of oppression, and they have a whole ideology and possibly a president that tries to...
Certainly a president at this point.
Yes, that tries to justify them.
Yes. That's exactly. And this undermines the authority of the parents, and that's really who we should have most in charge of children, obviously. Don't know why I have to say that, but here we are.
Exactly, and I think that terms have lost their meaning because for me the whole thing is based on misunderstanding language.
Yeah.
Because it is not so...
So.
I think so. I think, okay, it is important to qualify this because I saw this also in a comment that I think it is a misunderstanding of language on behalf of those who have gender dysphoria, and it is deliberate. It is a deliberate misrepresentation of how language works in this context by people who are behind gender ideology and have vested interests for that ideology to continue and be prosperous.
Yes, I think that's true. So the mother then wonders, well, where's all this coming from? And of course, it's the glowing device in her hand.
Yeah.
So what's on her phone? Well, she says, I managed to get all of her passwords to all her social media accounts. What I saw was jaw-dropping. Almost everyone that she was conversing with was a stranger, except for the SAC Anime, the convention friend, who had sent her a self-made masturbation video. Remember, she's 13 at this point. The discussions on the Discord platform online involved fetishistic sexual conversations. Kids were sending each other erotica involving incest and paedophilia. Older girls were instructing younger girls how to sell nude photos of themselves to men for money.
Okay, I think this is deranged on multiple levels, and especially I want to say something, and this is shows one of the dangers of current technology, that when teenagers grow up, at some point, it is time to have some conversations about, what it is to grow. Here we see someone sending a video and trying to have the conversations that a mother should have with her daughter. And I think that this is, again, a way in which families are very much threatened by...
Well, I mean, the child
practices.
has literally outsourced her education on this to a bunch of hypersexualized strangers on the internet.
Yes. It is unintentional on her part.
Sure, she didn't know any better, but...
Most probably it is intentional on the other side.
Yeah. And so the thing that the mother takes away from this, basically, is that, well, they're acting like adults, which they're not, but not just any adults. They're acting like vice-ridden prostitutes.
Yes.
teaching young girls how to sell nudes for money on
Because it's somehow
internet.
supposed to be cool.
But
or-
also, I mean, you make money out of it. It's a direct incentive. It's like, okay, right, that's not good.
This is prostitution in the making.
Yes, it's to turn these women into the worst form of themselves, basically, these young women.
Yes.
But the thing is, they basically think that they're mentally ill and they think that they're boys. She says, the girls bragged about their different mental illnesses. They talked about which drugs do what. They talked about how they are really boys, not girls. They discussed top surgery, that is having their breasts removed, and packers that create a bulge in one's pants to imply the presence of a penis. So their role model for masculinity is essentially the jackasses from Pleasure Island in Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Can we get that picture up, John? Just so you see, like, do you remember this in Pinocchio where they're smoking, they're drinking, they're gambling, they're just playing games all day, and that's their model for masculinity. I mean, it's one thing saying, "Oh, we're boys." Okay, well, why don't you take some responsibility? Why don't you go to the gym? Why don't you lift some weights? Why don't you do things that a positive masculinity might do? No, instead, you've become vice-ridden prostitutes, and you've taken the very worst aspects of what a man can do.
Just indulging in debauchery.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And being like, yeah, that's what we want. And it's like, yeah, you're not a real boy, okay? Neither are these. That's the point of this. They turned into jackasses and they're shipped off to mine salt or something. You know, this the point of this is this does not make you a man. But anyway, let's go back to the article. So the daughter has clearly gone down some kind of hideous wormhole. She says, my daughter's electronic devices were filled with TikTok videos and YouTubers talking about how great they feel now they have transitioned. These were messages in which strangers told her to kick my head in because I was a transphobe for refusing to call her a male name. So this is the online brainwashing filter bubble of left-wing propaganda on the internet.
It's just like saying anyone who criticizes us and doesn't push forward our agenda or our plans for you is a transphobe and therefore a bigot and a person that should be silenced.
Worthy of having violence done to them.
Yeah.
And so the mum does not take this lying down, and this is where it starts getting good. This is where I start really approving.
Remarkable woman.
Yeah. The mum says, I love this so much. I went nuclear. I took the phone and stripped it of all social media. YouTube, Instagram, Discord, Reddit, Pinterest, Twitter. I even blocked her ability to get the internet. It's like, I deleted all of her contacts and changed her phone number. I sat next to her while she attended school online via Zoom. I deleted YouTube from the smart TVs and locked up the emotes. I took every anime book from her room. I threw away all of her costumes. I banned any friend who was even in the slightest bit unsavory. I involved the police about the porn. I printed out the law and informed her that if anyone sent her porn, I would not hesitate to prosecute. This is just so good, right? She hated me like the addict hates the person for preventing a drug fix. I held my ground despite the constant verbal abuse. Chad. Absolute Chad of a mum. That is the best thing to do. And I've been through something similar myself, so I'm telling you, that is a difficult thing to do, but bravo. And then the mum goes even further. Oh, no. This isn't over. This isn't over. We are deprogramming the daughter here. She is not a boy. She is not one of the lost boys on Pinocchio's Pleasure Island. No. She was her adorable little girl, and that's what she's going to return to, right? She goes, she says, after going through several mental health professionals, I found an out-of-state psychiatrist who was willing to examine the causality for my daughter's sudden trans identity. I immersed myself in reading everything on the issue, talking to other parents and other professionals. I worked unceasingly to recreate the bond she and I used to share. Now, that's the point I think is the real crux of this. The ideology is designed to break the bond. The loving bond between a parent and their child. The ideology is designed to incept this, and the activists themselves attack that, saying the mother is evil, she's a transphobe, she's worthy of having violence done to her. You should hate your own mother. That's where this goes.
Exactly. It is an issue of disintegrating bonds, and it's not just mothers, it's also fathers.
Yeah, in this case, it's just
it is also family, and it's a very pernicious ideology because basically it teaches children to be ragged individualists.
Yes.
To care only about themselves.
To become dependent on strangers.
And to be a bit more precise, I think that the idea is here, it teaches children to be obsessed with their image. And that is why the first contact with people like that is through an image. It's through TikTok, it's through Okay, maybe that's not in the case of that woke camp, but
But
teaches.
that was only the genesis of this. That wasn't where
Yes.
this ended up going. Yeah.
Yes, but it teaches children to be obsessed with their self-image on social media.
Yeah, it's cultivating narcissism.
It is, and it's an issue of trying to measure the person, whether we're talking about a man or a woman, a boy or a girl. It is to measure the person in terms of the views that they get. So the craziest video that they are going to shoot.
Hence the reason that she made gross TikTok videos.
Yeah, this could be one of the reasons. Yes.
But it's interesting how this gels so well with social media itself, because of course you want likes and you want reinforcement because you've become indoctrinated into a narcissistic ideology. Well, social media is the perfect tool for the propagation of this narcissistic ideology, in which actually your real material body doesn't matter at all. And in fact, merely the social construct you put of yourself in front of the camera or on Twitter or wherever, that's what matters and that's what people engage with. So your real person is actually divorced from the situation entirely.
I think you're correct, and I think precisely when we unpack the issue of narcissism, there is an obsession with self-image that is coupled with a disregard for the views of others, an actual disregard. And I think that this breeds this mentality that it doesn't matter what other people say about me. It is just an issue of self-identification. I self-identify...
Well, they're bad people if they fail to agree with me.
Yes. Not only, they're simultaneously bad and wrong, because this is a subjectivist ideology at the end of the day. Someone qualifies as a woman because she says, or because we say that she's a woman, instead of it being the opposite, as it should be, that we say someone is a woman because she is a woman.
Yeah.
There's a reverse relationship there between facts and language.
It's the total opposite. We're not describing reality, we're prescribing reality.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the total opposite of how things should work.
Yeah.
But she says, after a year and a half of utter hell, and I don't doubt that this was genuinely hellish, my daughter is finally returning to her authentic self, a beautiful, artsy, kind and loving daughter. I'm not sure what the actual ingredients for the magic potion were for alleviating gender dysphoria in my daughter. The formula will vary, but for what I did was, after a very brief misstep of using a male name, our family and all the adults in my child's life only used her birth name and corresponding pronouns. Then don't indulge this nonsense.
Yeah, but I think if we bear the whole idea in mind, we can forgive her that.
Yeah, I mean, she's in California as well.
Yes.
Like, the social pressure can't have been easy. But this was not easy at all. She says, as I mentioned previously, we pulled the plug on all social media and her access to anyone other than the persons we vetted. I forced my daughter to listen to specific podcasts on the subject while driving to school. Hopefully this one. I printed out stories about female detransitioners and left them around the house. I left all of my research out in plain view, including Irreversible Damage, the transgender craze seducing our daughters by Abigail Shrier. Also Gender Dysphoria, Therapeutic Model for Working with Children, Adolescents and Young Adults by Susan Evans and other books. I followed the advice of Parents for Ethical Care's podcasts and the book Desist, Detrans and Detox, Getting Your Child Out of the Transgender Cult by Maria Keffler. I worked hard to take back the close relationship my daughter and I once had. I bit my tongue until it bled. I took her anger and only responded with love or walked away when I knew I would respond poorly. I caught her in vulnerable moments and hugged her or climbed into her bed. I stopped looking at her as though she was the victim of a scheme or a monster. As in, you have to look at her specifically, no matter what, like being possessed with a demon, your daughter is still in there. And that's what she had to work to bring back out.
Yes, exactly. And to approach her with love and affection.
Yeah.
And discipline.
Yeah.
I'm sure that people have many stories like that. And woke ideologues are blaming them for allegedly brainwashing children.
Well, do you want to know what the woke ideologue response to that actually is? This is how I found about this. There's a Twitter account called Right Wing Cope that posted this article and was like, "This is child abuse."
Yeah. Yes, exactly. They would see this as brainwashing. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, imagine. I mean, giving her access to adult material, obscene adult material, I would say is child abuse, actually. Yeah. But then I'm not a woke ideologue. And they follow this up with that epic moment when you force your child to endure worse social conditions than a prisoner. Ah, yes. not being allowed on social media, you're basically in jail.
Yeah.
This is clearly the position of someone who's excessively online. And she literally, I know that they follow this up. And again, this is the complete opposite of what reality is, right? If you're against paedophilia, you should want kids to feel comfortable to reach out if they're in a bad position. This parenting style opens up children to abuse, and this mum should be ashamed of herself. It's like, but she wasn't reaching out. She was cloistering herself away and getting access to obscene material and, stewing in it, you lunatic. This is the opposite of what this advice is evil advice designed to keep the child in the position of personal hell that they were clearly in, which is why they were so goddamn upset all the time.
And it is based on the idea that your virtual presence, your presence on the social media is much more important than your physical presence.
Yes, which is obviously not true.
Obviously.
We'll leave that one there.
Yeah. Okay, before we move to the next topic, check out the article by Thomas Dowling, Inceldom is only going to get worse. Available for members on our website.
This is a good article as well.
It is, yes. I have to say that I'm a diehard optimist, and I really don't think that... I have this view that at the end things are going to work for the better.
Oh, I hope so.
It is hard to maintain this kind of optimism. But I feel it somehow.
Okay. Well,
yes.
Let's stick with that intuition because, like you say, it's hard to rationally justify sometimes.
Yes, and I think we must feel this way sometimes because otherwise we will be so depressed.
Yeah.
And we won't have the courage to deal with problems.
Yes.
I don't think a fatalistic attitude helps.
I agree. I try not to be fatalistic. That's all I can say on that.
Thanks very much for watching that segment from the podcast Lotus Eaters, and I hope you're having a very Merry Christmas right now. If you enjoyed that and want more, you can become a member on our website for as little as £5 per month to get access to all of our premium content, including a recent book club that Connor and I did on Robert Nozick's Anarchy, State and Utopia. And if you want to find out more of what Connor is doing on a day-to-day basis, you can follow him over at Getter at @con_Tomlinson. Thank you and take care.